I have no coat nor beard.
I can share.
Oh, yeah, I was hold on, I'm going to take an extra microphone.
That's cool. Well, Sam, I'm just here to introduce you, really. You with Being Human, most recently.
Yeah.
We had you on Battlestar, which has a humongous following, Battlestar Galactica. And she likes Battlestar. Big Battlestar fan right there. And then Smallville, which my wife was obsessed with. And she was really, really loving that show. I had a lot of really, really big fans. And, of course, several movie roles. And guys, if you have any questions, we can just take them from the audience. But is there anything you want to say real quick about... Well,
I can't think of it.
let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
How'd you get into acting? You're from Illinois, right?
Yeah, from Chicago. Accident, really. Yeah, like, well, my grades weren't great. My parents wanted me to go to college, and I was like, well, how's that going to work with my grades? Not so great. And they said, well, you do school plays and stuff. I'm like, sure, what does that have to do with college? And they said, well, pretend like you're an actor and go and audition for the drama divisions of these colleges. Because they'll be lenient on your grades for that. So, okay. And then, so I did that and got into Juilliard for acting.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess.
Well, no, because, hey, not everybody get a Juilliard. Juilliard is one of those things.
I actually fought my parents to go to that. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to waste my time at the audition. They made me go. So next thing you know, I was going to Juilliard to be an actor, which was just a weird thing.
And I was talking to you earlier. One of your earlier roles was The Mist.
Yeah.
And you guys watched that movie? That was an intense Stephen King film. And your
Beautiful
scene in that, you had several scenes, but you had one major scene that was just really, really heart-wrenching for the audience. And I was going to ask, well, how did you get involved with that project? What was that like?
I was walking down the street, which I do sometimes, and this woman was coming across the street outside of the crosswalk. She dropped these bags of stuff that she was carrying in the middle of the street, and no one was helping her, so I went to help her pick up her stuff. And she thanked me, and then we were carrying this stuff to this building, and as we were in the elevator, she said, hey, are you an actor? I said, yeah. And so we go into this office, and she's like, hey everyone, this is Sam. He's an actor, he really helped me out on the street. Let's buy him lunch. And I'm like, yes, cool. I'm really hungry, and I don't have a lot of money, this is really good. And she goes, actually, instead of lunch, I'm like, oh, come on, no lunch. And she goes, do you want to read for something? I'm like, I'd rather have a lunch, but okay, yeah. So then they gave me these pages of stuff. One was this argument scene, one was a romantic scene, and one was a big freaking out scene. And I had about 15 minutes to look over that stuff, and then I did it for them on tape, and after I did that, she said, wow, Sam, you're kind of perfect for this. I'm like, great, well, what is this? Is this a TV show? She goes, no, it's a movie. I'm like, okay. She's like, no, you don't understand, you may have saved me, Frank is going to love this. I'm like, awesome. So I left, and I called up my manager, and I said, listen, I just met this woman named Deb in the middle of the street. I read for something. And it's a movie, and Frank is going to love this. Can you tell me what the hell just happened? and he said, okay, he typed away. He said, okay, that Deb must have been Deb Aquila. She's one of the biggest cast directors in the city. I'm like, oh, well, I just helped her across the street. And the movie is The Mist. I'm like, well, like Stephen King's The Mist? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And who's this Frank? Is going to love this. Who's this Frank guy? He's like, Frank Darabont. I'm like, Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, Frank Darabont? He's like, yeah. And I was just like, well, I'm glad I didn't know that going in, because I was just blowing off the whole thing. And then Frank's story is that 2 weeks before he saw my audition, he just got into Battlestar Galactica. And didn't want to watch it, but a guy named David Scow, the guy who wrote The Crow, the movie The Crow, actually, got him into Battlestar, forced him to watch it, and 2 weeks later I auditioned. And the story Frank tells is that he was on the treadmill, he saw my audition, got off the treadmill, hit stop on the DVD, called up Deb and said, okay, hire that guy, just do that right now. So I was one of the first hired on the Mist. Wow. And then from that, me and Frank became very close friends, and I just saw him in his house in Carmel, and we're buddies. So the coolest thing about the Mist was all the friends that I made from it.
You know, one of the things I always hear about, the entertainment industry is that it helps to mingle and get to know people and try to help, like who you know gets you places. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time for all that stuff. Wow. That's cool. Out of curiosity, anybody, any Battlestar Galactica fans here? 'Cause you're talking about Battlestar right now.
Really?
Wow. Everybody from my class, everybody from my school was like, Battlestar, Battlestar, oh, I know that, I love that, oh, yeah, Crash Down. They were getting really excited about it, but they couldn't come.
Awesome. Apparently not.
Wow.
Let me just advertise Battlestar Galactica. I know this is a horror crowd, but like, I'm not even in the show that much. This isn't about me. This is about like one of the coolest shows ever made. You know how they say like, you guys like Breaking Bad, right? Kind of the show that everyone points at and says, this is maybe the most perfect show of all time, sort of in a weird way. Like in terms of how it's executed, they really don't make many mistakes. Battlestar is, in terms of execution, maybe a few notches, just a few little notches below Breaking Bad, but it's a much more difficult show to do, much harder to do. It's basically Black Hawk Down meets 2001. In space, it's just like, there's no aliens, it's just a bunch of people in space being hunted down by machines.
That they created themselves.
They created themselves. And it's very character-based. It's, incredible performances. In fact, we were encouraged to ad-lib on that set, so you never really know what you're getting from these performances. It's all very handheld, very visceral and in your face, and like it's really happening. So, I know it's called Battlestar Galactica, you think, oh, what the hell is that? It's a rehash of Star Wars originally, and so Battlestar was. But this is a very unique show. You got like Star Wars, you got Star Trek, and Battlestar, very different from both of those two franchises. Incredible show. You guys, here, I'm gonna give you the challenge that I gave David Strathairn. David Strathairn is one of the, an incredibly known, incredible actor. Very, very respected. Good Night and Good Luck, he was the star of that. And, in terms of Stephen King fans, he was amazing in Dolores Claiborne, if you guys remember that movie. And so he's just, just very respected actor, Academy Award nominee several times. And I'm like, hey, here's Battlestar Galactica. And he goes, Sam, I'm not a sci-fi guy. I'm not into that. I'm like, give it 30 minutes. Just watch 30 minutes. And then we went away for the weekend and he came back. I gave him the whole disc set. And then he gets into the transport van on Monday after a weekend away. And first thing he says to me, he goes, hooked like a fish, what else you got? And he hands me this set back. And he lost his mind for that show. Edward James Olmos, Mary McDonnell, incredible actors all over the place. Some of the best actors I've ever seen. So, there's my Battlestar pitch.
Let me ask you a quick question. Battlestar and Being Human, those are both technically remakes, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's different? I mean, you had a much larger role in Being Human. Is there anything different about doing a remake like that, where there may already be fans, either from the older series or in the BBC case, from the other show? Is there anything different that you guys have to go into as actors that you think about when you go in?
Yeah, you have to deal with a lot of hostility, basically. You have to deal with a lot of people who are like, how dare you, why are you doing this? But I've found that if you do a good enough job, they tend to leave you alone after you start airing. That's what happened with Battlestar, and that's what happened with Being Human. Or at least they were kind, they were patient with us. We didn't watch the Being Human.
Really?
No, we stayed away from it. We saw the pilot, and then all of us actors all decided to make the decision to not watch their show while we were shooting our season 1. Now, after season 1, I bought everyone the box sets, and we watched the hell out of the BBC series. But we had to establish our own characters.
Yes, that makes sense.
If we'd seen their show, which is a wonderful show, the BBC Being Human is amazing. But if we'd seen their show, I would just be playing a version of Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because I would have liked what he did, and I would be subconsciously copying it, and Sam Huntington would be a version of George, and so on.
Is that something that came from the actors, or was that like a producer suggestion?
The actors decided it, the producers then encouraged it. So, kid tested, mother approved, just like kids. So that's what we did.
No, that's cool. Being Human.
The writers, by the way, did the same thing on both sides.
Really?
The writers for not all of them.
Because they continued on BBC, they were still making it.
Right. We were both, at the time, both making our shows. And as I understand, most of the writers on the American side did not watch the BBC's version, and I later heard from Toby Whithouse, the guy who created Being Human for the BBC, that they did not watch our show while they were making their show, and then afterward, then it was, you know, everyone caught up. Well, I got a nice email from Toby Whithouse saying, okay, I just caught up and, you know, well done. So that was nice to hear from the creator of the show.
Can I ask you a quick question? When I was looking at the autographs outside, you know, there's a couple people, especially at the beginning where there's still people filtering in. You had one of the more active lines. That's why I didn't want to interrupt. I actually got in line to make sure to meet you.
Yeah, I noticed you got in line. I was like, that's really...
Normally I jump in and say hello, but you had I don't want to jump in front of any fans. You had a lot of people there talking.
That was just funny, but like, he waited in line to finally come and say, hey, listen, I'll be moderating your panel. Anyway, I see you. That was sweet. That was very nice.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt. You had some really intense fans. Did anybody here already get pictured with him?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. I really wanted to set up the microphone, but we didn't really have one right now. But if you guys want to raise a hand to ask a question.
I know you have a musical background. Is it professional?
Yeah.
I know that one of your songs was featured in episodes. What other instrument do you play?
A little bit of everything. I mean, I haven't played drums in a long time, but I used to be okay. I'm probably terrible now. A little bit of piano, bass, guitar, triangle, and tambourine, and sing. A little bit of everything. Because when I was growing up and recording songs, like, at first it was all like keyboard stuff. And then I had a drum set, so it was keyboard and drums. And then I decided I wanted guitar, so I had to learn guitar. And it's like, okay, it doesn't sound right without a bass, so I had to learn bass. And so that's kind of how this all came about, because I wanted to record songs. And it's just what I did for fun. Yeah.
How did you get your song on the show? How did that happen?
Because I cost the company money, so I had to give them something in exchange. There was a scene where, you guys are all Being Human fans, or most of you are? Yeah! Have you guys all have you seen the whole series? I don't want to, didn't want to spoil it. Basically, there's a scene in the 20s where Aiden and Henry are murdering these two women in an alley. And then he sees another woman down the alley and goes, ain't she sweet? She's walking down the street. He starts singing that as he's walking toward her, with blood dripping out of his mouth. And the way that came about was that the morning that we were going to shoot that, I kept thinking about, because I was like, that's an important scene, because we've seen Aiden do bad things, but he always feels bad afterwards. It's like, I killed a bunch of, like, a whole sorority house, but I do feel bad, so the audience likes me, right? Seriously. But I was like, we have to show at least a couple scenes, because we keep hearing, oh, he was the worst. So can we see him having a good time? There was a distinction there. We see him do bad things, but we never see him do bad things and go, I'm fine with it, that was great, let's do it again. So I kept thinking about how can we make that scene interesting, how can we make it memorable and horrific at the same time. And there was a suggestion in the script, later on in the script, when Sally confronts Aiden, he goes, I was there in the 20s, I was there with you for like a week and a half, and I never knew you enjoyed killing so much. And one time you were even singing, said Sally in the script. So that morning I'm like, singing. Why are we seeing that? It's one thing to have a line about it, but why are we not seeing that moment where he's singing? And what is he singing? What can he possibly be singing? I'm like, why can't that be this scene? So I called up Anna and I called up Stefan. In fact, first I found the song. I looked around, you know, what was popular music at the time and what songs would have been available, but also ideally what would be recognizable today. What's a, you know, basically the song that still exists in terms of people's mind. And when I came, was that Power Rangers? And so, so when I was going through the list, I was just looking through all these different songs. When I came upon Ain't She Sweet, I was like, oh my God, that's kind of perfect in terms of like what's happening in the scene. And then I looked up very briefly like what copyright law was and how basically copyrights lapse after like 50 years. But I wasn't sure about it, so I talked to Anna, the showrunner, I talked to Stefan Paczynski, the producer, and then I sent an email to legal over at Muse, the production company, saying, can you guys please research this as to like, if this is legal for us to use? And I said, we gotta hear back from you by like 3 p.m. today, that's when I'm going to set, and we're probably gonna shoot it at like 1 a.m. But please get back to us, you know? Muse never got back to us, like their legal team just didn't. And then, so we shot it, and it turns out it cost us like $10,000, which for my show is a lot of money, like we don't have a lot of money. So I got a nice call from the producers going, so, you know, that ad-lib you threw in with singing that song, you know, you probably should have consulted people. I'm like, dude, I can send you the paper trail. I wrote Muse Legal, and I talked to the producers, and I could send you all these emails, and they said, oh, okay, you did, you're in the clear, you're right, you're fine. It's just, you know, that's another song that we burned off in terms of like licensing music. I'm like, all right, well then I'll give you a song for the same episode, and I'll give it to you for free. So in the party, you can hear one of my songs playing over the radio. You know, there's a werewolf dance party going on, and so one of my songs is in that party because I wanted to help make up for the fact that it cost the company money. Which still, I contacted the lawyers, they never got back to me.
As point as you're aware of that, a lot of people don't even know Happy Birthday is copyrighted.
Yeah.
That's why they can't sing that at like Chili's and stuff. They have to sing their own little songs, because otherwise they have to be Warner Brothers.
No, it doesn't? Is that right? I thought it was like, McCartney had that. Or did he write it? He wrote it, didn't he?
No, it goes back to around the 20s as well.
He went back in time and wrote that song.
No, but there are a lot of them that show like that. They're still copyrighted. You have another question over here? Yes, sir?
Sam, is it okay if I call you Aiden?
Sure.
Because I'm a huge Being Human fan, and my question is, out of all the scenes in Being Human, which would you say is Aiden's most defining? I mean, mine personally is after, you know, you kill Bishop, but I would like to know your opinion.
Whoa, what scene is the most defining? Man, that's really tough. That's really, really tough. I mean, he was a really